Hey, how you guys doing? Let's do it to it. Okay. Okay. Let's see what do we got here. Which one did we do? We did the C4 line. So let's do oops, sorry, wrong. Has to be dots here. Second, that's let me see, is that white or black? So that's black. That's 7. Oh, not Rubinstein. Alright. Let's do it to it. Let's enlarge this. So E4, E6, D4, D5, knight C, C3, pawn takes, knight takes, knight, oops, sorry, not knight takes, knight there, A5, pawn there, F4. This is kind of like a Steinitz variation. c4, c5, knight f3, knight c6, and bishop e3, and then this is c takes d4, knight takes d4, queen b6, queen d2, queen takes b2, rook b1, queen a3, bishop b5, knight takes d4, bishop takes d4, and castles by bishop b4, okay, and then castles and a6, and so that if probably bishop takes, let's see, better, he is saying, is actually castles is a better idea. Rook b3, queen a5, queen f2, exclam. This is an exclam move for white. f5, fb1, bishop b7, bishop takes d7, bishop takes d7, rook takes d7, and this is better for white. This is actually from a game. There should be a game that pops up. Yep, this is the game right here. This one. But he says after this one here, rook b3, queen a5, rook fb1, bishop a7, bishop takes d, bishop takes d, rook takes b4, rook c, c8, queen e3, rook c4, f5. White has the initiative, and this is actually from another game too. Where is that? It's this one here. And black actually ended up winning this. This is, so basically e takes f is what ended up winning. So now we gotta pull up a new one. Bishop c5. move 8. So let's do this one here. Oops, I have to modify this again. This is a subline. Just want to check something out real quick to make sure I'm spelling subline right, because I dislike spelling wrong. Oh, it's separate. So it's not together. Hold on, let me make sure. Subline, okay. Subline. Alrighty. Let's fix that. You gotta make it professional. There you go. Perfect. Harry the H-pawn, gotta love it. This is actually from Anon was white, and Buzzman was black. So Anon played rook h3. Buzzman played b4. There. She takes d. Queen takes d. Rook b8. And rook e3. Then a5, and it ended up becoming an equal game at this point. So this is actually where it stopped. Let me see. Right here is actually where it stops. So I'll put right there. That's actually where the game stopped. There we go. Queen F2, Bishop B6, Bishop D3, Rook B8, exclam. This is a good one here. Castle kingside, and then knight A4. And this is where this one stops, so we got to put there and S. So knight takes A, B takes A, queen takes B, rook takes B3, king E7, and it's an equal position at this point. And this actually goes to a game, an older game. Let's see if the game's here. Yep, this is the game right here. Both of them were draws. Okay, we'll do one more, and then we finished out the page in the French book. Oops, these aren't, this isn't for black, this is for white. Sorry about that. I'll fix that. Knight f3. This is the sub line. c5, f takes, bishop takes. Actually takes d. Sorry, wrong move. Knight c6. Bishop f4. Bishop takes. Bishop d3. f6. Bishop takes e. Knight takes. Castles. So the center's been basically exploded open. Knight f5. Bishop d7. Knight takes. Bishop takes. Queen e2. Uh-oh. Oh, drat. He didn't castle. That was not good. Castles. There we go. Knight e5. Bishop there. Knight takes. Bishop takes. There, and then bishop e7. That's an equal game. That's equal at this point. I don't think there's a game that goes to, oh, there are a couple games. Black won in each line. Let's set for a draw here. We get to do tomorrow we'll do the poison pawn, and then we'll do the Winnier main line the next day, and just some Winnier lines, and then we'll just do the Winnier, and then there's just like there's a lot of different Winnier moves, and then the last but not least, I think we get to do the Tarrasch variation. Yeah, Tarrasch has a lot of variations in it. Yeah. Then the very, very last one is the exchange. So we might have to step it up tomorrow and do maybe two pages of openings of the Winnier. We'll do like the poison pawn, the whole poison pawn, and then we'll do the another part of the Winnier as well. But let's go down and do some analyze. Get a drink. And you're more than welcome to go over the French defense studies that we put out there. Just look up business law and on lichess.org or icchess.org, and you can then go to the studies, and I'd be much appreciative if you leave a like on it too. But if not, and you just want to go through it, that's cool too. And let me get a drink, and then I'll read what Marshall said. This is Marshall and Osted, 1906. It's a queen pawn opening. One of my most exciting games. Burn clearly counterattack begins on move 20, so we gotta watch for that. Made it the kind of position where anything can happen. So we'll call this Marshall game where anything can happen. We'll name it that. D4, D5, Knight, King 5, or F3, C5. So Marshall's black, and Byrne, remember the gentleman who was trying entire game. I think he was he the one that was trying to find his pipe? I think he was trying to find his pipe the entire game. I want to make sure that just give me a second to make sure I'm checking that right. Just want to make sure I got the right gentleman's name. I know Byrne is here somewhere. Yep, I think this is, let me see, is that the same guy? Yes, Amos Byrne. Same player. He played him 6 years ago and beat, and Amos tried to hold Marshall off as white. And Marshall just kept hammering him. He kept, I guess, as Marshall said, he was trying to look for his smoking pipe or something. So, go figure on that. But, so I was just making sure it was the same guy. They didn't call him Amos in this one. They called him just Byrne. A. Byrne. And so he's playing, I believe, is this the Queen's Gambit accepted counter or something like this? It's kind of an odd opening that Byrne is going down. So C3. Not Byrne, I'm sorry, Marshall. Alright. This is a really interesting French. This is a French, kind of maybe a counter Slav type of setup with, because usually in the Slav, this is what usually happens. If here, you can actually kind of do a Slav type of setup here, and then if you try the advanced variation, you get something similar to this. It's kind of a different advanced variation, but or sometimes they'll actually go via this way, and then you can bring it out and then takes, and you make a kind of isolated. It's really interesting. So, but back to the game, because we want to stay within the game. Bishop F4, Knight C6, Pawn A3. Now he's got somewhat of a Mason attack kind of setup. Or yeah, I think it's Mason. And what it is this setup is very similar to the one in the London system. This is a London kind of setup, because you could tell the how this pawn setup is here, and all White needs to do is develop his knight to D and bishop here, and he's got the pure London. Surprisingly they played the London back then, so it's been around for over 100 years, the London system, so it's not a new opening. So knight C or F3 or F6, sorry. Knight. Alright, so he is setting up for the London system. This variation is one which disappeared from master play because it often offers black less trouble than he does in the Queen's Gambit Black now has the Queen's Gambit. Is potentially you can play Queen to B6 like this here. So Black actually played Bishop to D6. This is a line that you can potentially play here. And then if here, retreat back. If castles, then you can play B3, pawn takes, and you got a pretty strong center. If takes, takes. You still have this, you still have that, you still have there with an attack, and you still have Gary up the board we can go. So that's kind of what he was saying. This move here actually helps white, because white will just pile in with E7 or E5. And if he plays bishop here, knight comes in, and there's actually been a couple. Let me see, is this the one where bishop here? I think this is, no, that's not the right move. Is this the one where, gotta remember I haven't done the, oh, black has to castle, sorry. It's this here, I'm sorry, and it's wrong. It's this here. No, it has to. No, I'm sorry, that's not the right one. I was trying to remember this. This is the line here. Castles. Actually, here. Castles. And then if here, somehow I'm thinking I'm missing something, because this knight has to be like somewhere here for this to actually work. This has to be sorry, the queen has to take, and then the knight can't take. It'll be something like a king move comes in, then the knight can't be here. But there's a setup. There's a setup where it works in the London. I'll have to go over that again. It's on Ginger Jam's Grandmaster Simon Williams thing that setup actually happens. So castles, bishop d3, rook e8. Hey, how you doing? Did you do good at your tournament? Did you have fun? Well, that's okay. That's the whole idea, you know, about improving. Oh. Was this the player that you were talking that you played against before that had improved? That you faced here, or was this a different person? So I remember you were saying that there was a person that played two grandmasters and beat the grandmasters or something like that. So let's see, what do we got here? Ah, gotcha. So this should be really instructive then. So which one were you, white or black? Okay, gotcha. Just wanted to make sure I had the right side. So you did the Sicilian. Castles. H3. Okay, takes. Tasty. Okay, D3, still good. Still good. Hey, how you doing? Queen C7. A4. E5. A5. Okay. So he's cramping down. I'm wondering if maybe should you have played B6 here? And oh, great. You know what? When you're streaming and doing chess, you can't but have a great day. Did you consider Chess 360? Did you consider B6 here? And then, but I know what you were thinking, that potentially he can throw an E. So so bishop E6, and then you were saying that bishop E3 was what was going to be played, and then A5 here. Is that what you were talking about? This type of setup here. So B6, bishop E3, and then A5 is what you kind of considered at this point. Okay. Well, I will do that. Post it in. Right, but it would be your turn. See, after B6 though, um, he goes bishop E3, right, and then A5, right? Wouldn't this be a kind of better setup for you so that you can bring your bishop out? Okay, and then so that if he tries going like B4, takes, and then now you can actually potentially win a pawn with a discovery on the bishop on A1. So you have to look at, because I noticed that after you played E4, he instantly did this lockdown move, and it kind of cramped your position, and so it was kind of a headache that you're going to have to deal with the rest of the game. Oh, perfect. I'll put this in here, and then I'll copy it, and we'll do it in just a second. Okay, so this was a problem, so that's why I was asking if you considered B6 here to potentially if takes there. I know what you're saying, B5 maybe, and then bishop to E3. Okay, so you were saying a5, then bishop e3. Okay. Well, maybe takes here and then potentially rook a1. The queen slid over there. You can potentially play. He could play here, then there, and then you have this potential outpost here, and so he might try. Well, he can't lock down there, so he might try knight here. And if you came in there, then well, maybe knight b5 is bad move. So maybe here to try to take scope then, and that would hold this spot off. But his knight's on the rim, and who would love a knight on the rim? Okay, not a problem. Take as much time as you need. So this, I think it's about an equal position here. I like white. I mean black here. I like black. And I'm thinking that potentially queen takes a5 would be pretty. It's kind of sketchy because of that there, but you can just retreat your bishop back. I mean your queen back, and I still prefer black. You have to always consider those sub lines and think to yourself, if you know that your opponent's gonna play a4, and then when you play e5, you know that your queen side's slightly an inferior setup here, and you have to get it basically untangled, unwound, so that this bishop can get up. Sometimes an off-the-wall move that kind of looks really silly, you would think as a chess player, man, this looks silly, you know, because can't he play a5, then I play b5, and all of a sudden he gets bishop e3 in there. Yeah, but then you take, and you potentially get an open file that you can dominate. Your bishop comes out after the queen moves. Bishop to e6. It's out now. Yes, you are slightly down one pawn, but he really can't defend this very well. He could try locking it down via b4. That he could try that move. Oh, bishop, you were thinking bishop okay, so you were, oh, okay, I gotcha. And so takes. Oh, okay, bishop b6. So that's what we had too. So this is the sneaky, subtle move. So you would, yeah, okay, yeah, that would be a pain in the drain. That's, as I like to say, a puzzle rush move right there. That you fork and win a piece. Yeah, that is interesting. I was just trying to find a way that your position wouldn't get so locked down. This c5 pawn now is going to become a headache for you the rest of the game. You could potentially play c5 here, so queen there. So you're trying to get in here, okay, and then try to hammer the d3 pawn. Gotcha. Okay, knight f4. Wow. Wow, I was surprised on that. That's pretty shocking. Wow, that's a shocking. Hey, how you doing? How you do and play okay? Wow, I'm surprised that he did that. That's very shocking. I guess that's really the only move to dislodge that knight, isn't it? If you play here, he takes there. So if you try to kick it out via that, well, I guess he would be trapped, wouldn't he, here? So he could have played this move here. Right, but I really don't see the need. If he plays here, he's gonna lose the knight. Knight there. The knight takes. Okay. Yeah, I see what you're saying. But this still ends up becoming, this still is your Achilles heel though, so. Yeah, I see what you're saying. I guess you'd have to do that. You were thinking, oops. Do you mean knight takes g2? Do you mean knight takes g2? Because b2 is over on the queen side. If bishop e. Oh, if bishop e. Okay, so what you're saying is bishop e3, knight takes d. Rook e. Okay, rook e. Well, that'd be rook d2. Rook d2, then. Okay. Check. I think you lose a piece in that line. You'd lose a piece in that line. I'm surprised your opponent didn't find that though. That would have been an interesting setup. So here, knight takes rook d1. But you're in check. So you're in check at this point. So you can't really do anything. So you're in check. So you'd have to actually take back, and then you lose. You lose the knight. And then, oh, I got you here. Oh, I see. Rook d1, yeah. Okay. Yeah, then you pick up the rook here. Okay. Yeah, I see what you're saying. Yeah. Oh, nice tactic there. That was a good tactic. Good. Gotta love that tactic. Yeah. Let's see. Can we actually trap your queen though? Actually, probably not. Wow. Yeah. Okay. That was a good sneaky setup there. That makes sense. I think that's why he took on f4. Wow, that's pretty deep there. Good job. Okay, takes. Bishop d2. So you move your bishop out. I'm just thinking, what could we actually do here? Because this seems so artificial for white. This doesn't seem like it holds anything together. Yeah, I was thinking where to move the queen though, because if we move here, he's got that. We could do that, then he takes. Oh, nice. That'd been good. This would have been a good move here. Oh, sweet. Sweet, sweet, sweet. This right here wins a piece. Well, no, actually, he's got rook b4. Ah, darn it. I guess we could play there, and then after the exchange, he then has there. That's not fun. We don't like that. No, no, no. No siree, we don't want that. Let's see. You could try there. Ah, drat. That's not fun. Yeah, I was thinking this move here, but this still doesn't work. Even if you played there. So he actually doesn't have to move that. He could just play here. Well, I guess you could play bishop takes, rook takes, and then queen a here. Wow, that actually is pretty darn strong. Whoa. Well, then he'd have to play there. Then he has rook b ab8 there. Or could you actually play rook even better? That's even better because then after takes, yeah, you're up. Wow, that's cool. Wow, that's a pretty nifty idea. B here, then after rook, bishop here. Queen takes would probably be a better move there. Queen takes b3. Yeah, so rook wouldn't be able to take. Still thinking this might potentially. He can't play here. If he tries there, you can potentially. Boy, this would be a tough one to decide on. If takes there. Actually, he can't go there. Sorry, d1's blunder. He has to retreat back. Then you can actually come crashing through. Pawn takes, bishop takes, queen can't take. I mean, queen could try pinning, then you win there. So yeah, boy, there's a lot of I gotta say, at this point right here, did you take some time to think? I gotta ask, did you take some time to think at this point? Because this was a critical point in your game right here. Chess 360, did you take some time to actually think about this move here? Okay, perfect. So then I was right, yeah. Did you consider queen b5? Did you consider queen b5? It's okay if you didn't. It's just it's actually good that if you didn't, now you can take this back. But see, you had after this though, you had after queen takes, you had queen d3. You had queen d3 that you could have infiltrated into though, and then you could have started having some sort of an attack, and you still have a really good dark squared bishop. Yeah, it's just you always have to. What I learned from my grandmaster coach was he told me this, and a lot of great chess thinkers as well told me to think one move deeper. Think one move deeper. Don't dismiss an idea until you considered it even a little bit further out, because it could potentially be the right one. Just always keep that in remembrance when you look at a move. Don't just dismiss it right off the bat. Take some time, maybe extend it out 2 or 3 or 4 moves, and just see if it might be winning. Rook a b8. Okay, yeah, because you never know what your opponent's going to do. I've had an opponent that back here, when I played queen b here, I've had an opponent that where did I? Oh, right here. Okay, got it. I had an opponent who actually one time did play something similar to this, and I was able to get a pin. They took without calculating. It looks, you know what, when a lot of your opponents won't really consider queen takes b3. Some might, some of the players might actually consider that, but you never know, you know, because unless you try it, because if they didn't consider this, you're winning. Yeah, I see what you're saying. You know, I'm just you know, as I like to say, here to help. Okay, G. Okay, so okay, so this must have been where the pawn got gambited on a6. So that's the, yeah. Okay, takes check, king up. If queen here, let's see, what do we have that we can actually play? If here, well, I guess he could take with the knight, so that'd be an inferior move. This is kind of a tough sitch at this point. Actually, I think you could actually potentially hold. I don't know if that's... No, I don't think rook. Maybe, let me see, if bishop takes here, you can actually play there. So I don't think that works. The bishop takes doesn't work. Oh boy, this is a tough position at this point. Let's see here. Maybe you could have tried queen d8, and then if he tried something like this here, then you could play there, and if he tries that, you can play up here. F takes, 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 takes. Knight here. Maybe winning the pawn back. I don't think your position's busted until you move to, I think queen e8 was the mistake here. I'm thinking queen e8 might have been the move that might have been the tide turner. I'm thinking that potentially queen d8 might have actually been better here. And I know that you're probably thinking, what if queen a4, right? Because this is now under attack. Well, you could still play that move, and even if the queen did take, you're still protected. And then you have g4 takes, takes, and now the knight has to come back, and then you try to explode the center with, or the king side with g. Pawn takes, takes, knight back, and then potentially you might. Maybe we can play there, trying to kick the queen out. The queen comes back. Maybe queen check here would be good at that point. Then it comes over there. And then you have a perpetual. Well, I guess you could block with the knight. But that's when your bishop comes in and you totally take scope on that. Interesting. I think you could have saved your position. I think that it was this move here, queen e8, that just one move over, I'm thinking, would have protected the g5 pawn, and then you could have went h. And it does a lot of, this move is really a quiet move too. It doesn't have anything to deal with this pawn. If he pushes, well, you could actually play here. If he takes, he can't take there, so he'd have to move there. I guess queen would be a headache, wouldn't it? And then takes, takes, and then, yeah, I kind of see. Yeah. What I found out in a lot of my games that I've played that have seemed lost, I look for the berserker move, and I think to myself, what would a berserker do? And a berserker would say, you know what? Forget the pawns. I need to get my soldiers involved. Let's get this party started, and I would have spotted queen d8, and the player would be thinking, what is this player out of his mind? What's he doing? He's not going after this pawn. He's letting this happen, and the rook come down. And then all of a sudden you have something like this that shows up on the board, and then they're like, I think we made a mistake here, and oh, that's pinned. Darn it. Probably after he takes here, this would be better. And then after there, okay, then you'd have to move. Okay, and then if takes. Yeah, I guess this would be kind of a crazy position, wouldn't it? I still think you can get that in. Yeah. You have to always be on guard, but you got to look for those moves that are really interesting, let's just say that. And potentially this could have actually been a tide changer after here. You just move your king over. You don't worry about queening because this is protecting that. The bishop is protecting that. And if rook takes, and if king comes up, then potentially you can try to let me see, try to maybe, I'm trying to think here, this maybe queen e2, going after the pawn. This kind of is an interesting move. Maybe after here, queen f1, maybe queen f1, with the idea of taking here, and so that potentially maybe b4 holds. So I don't think queen f1's best then at this point. So queen c2 is actually a better move here. And how does he hold onto this pawn? Well, I guess you can play there, but then you can actually do a check and potentially get a somewhat of a perpetual. He's going to have to lose this. He might try something like that. Then you can takes, and get your pawn back at this point. He could try coming here, you win that, and then tries to get his knight in to protect and come over and come down there. But you can actually get your king involved at this point. And I think it's savable. I think your position was savable at that point, salvageable, with queen d8. I think it was salvageable. May I ask, why did you resign at this point? Where did you resign? Is this the continuation of your? I think you had f3 at this point, didn't you? Didn't you have f3? Okay. No perpetual? Okay, I see that. So no perpetual at that point. Well then maybe d1. Huh, interesting. He still could try that. And takes there. You gotta look, and it was, I think, the game 2. I think it was either not this year but last year. Nazi Pekinzi actually had a position where she was almost lost, and she had to sacrifice a piece, but she had to find the move that would save the position, and they didn't know because it was like 4 or 5 or 6 or 7 moves deep. They didn't know if Nazi was actually going to be able to find that move, and she did. So like takes here, here, takes, rook takes, bishop takes. I'm thinking this is salvageable. One thing a chess player can't do, and this is some really good advice that my grandmaster teacher told me, don't get frustrated. See, one thing that could be frustrating is you know, when you get into a position you feel is lost, you kind of get disheartened, and then I don't know what it is with chess players. Sometimes they play the most oddest moves. Like like the saving moves are really interesting. Oh drat, he moved his king up, didn't he? Oh, that's okay. Let's see here. Takes. So he can't play there. So he might actually play here. There. Maybe he could play. I didn't see that he moved his king. That was my mistake there. He could actually potentially play here. He doesn't have to move his king. Huh, interesting. Boy, that is interesting. But you know what? Not to worry. If you learn something from it, it's always a victory. Remember what we talked about. It's not if you're going to. You got to treasure your victories and learn from your losses, and that's the hardest thing to do, is to take a loss home and actually find out where you went awry. Especially when you get into time trouble. That's a really hard thing to handle. It's not fun. Yeah. So just, you know what you have to do is, sometimes when I've lost in some games, you have to, as I like to say, go back, find out what happened, and learn from it. Because there was, excuse me, cough there. There was a on Brooklyn, not Brooklyn, no, it was Knights of South Bronx. There was a gentleman who came in that said that what he did when he lost, he says what he did is he took it home and then got stronger that way. And he said that he came back stronger. So that was an excellent game. Okay, I promised we would go over a game here, so let's do that. Let's do one more game. Hey, you know what? You're more than welcome anytime you want to share games. Remember, we're here to help each other improve, and that's That's the whole thing. Take it from a chess player who has learned a lot from their losses. I'm one that has learned. But when you win, though, and you get those beautiful games, they're so worth it. That's funny. What in the world? There we go. Oh no, it's not. You can, if you have if you have a game, we'll go over that. Okay, so you're white. Perfect. So let's see here, what did we do here? So you did a somewhat of a perk. You did a interesting perk defense. Okay, take your time. C5. This should be 2. Queen G7. Castles. Bishop G4. H3. Bishop takes. Okay. So I played there. Bishop takes. Huh. Let me see what could we have done here. I'm thinking H4. H4. Thinking H4, then after there, then you can potentially play Bishop E2. Bishop comes out. You have Bishop F3. And when the bishop comes back, you can actually play G4. But he's got a castle first, so you have to make sure that so you always have to, yeah. Harry the H pawn, that's a Simon Williams favorite. E1. And if you're gonna play the bishop move, you're gonna want to also, if you're gonna try to do a London system setup, this is actually a really good London system, because you really don't. If he plays here and takes, and then takes, you can actually play queen takes, pawn takes, and then bishop takes e5. So you don't have to worry about your pawn sitch. Now if he tries this, then you can actually pin the knight. And if he tries here, you can actually potentially take, pawn takes, and then play queen. And then if he plays there, you can pick up and have a pin like that. There's a whole bunch of different ideas. Okay. Rook E1, Knight bd2. Maybe knight takes, pawn takes. Maybe then castles. c4 potentially, then c5. There, takes. Maybe even g5 we can play. Maybe before that just g5, and then if pawn takes, and then we could throw Harry up the board. Ah, gotcha. You got to be careful with this bishop, because this is a headache piece. So c3. I was wondering if rook b1, rook a b1, then potentially rook f e8, and then let's see here, knight here. Got to be careful with, because we got to somehow get a guard here. Then if he tries to double, and then we've created our pyramid wall, and he could try to hammer at it like that, but there's always a way to try to hold. Okay, we will get this. Copy. Let's see, takes here. So now that he's offside, well, not a problem. I'm more than happy to go over him. There. Maybe he can actually potentially play here, but if he did that, you could take, and the knight's in the way. So that's interesting. Come on. Knight bd7. Sometimes my thing highlights it. He plays there. You have to always look for breaks. Oh, I'm not going to judge you. I wouldn't judge you. So don't worry. Okay, so there, okay. let's see here. If we played there, we tried coming in here. Got knight. We have knight in there that could protect the pawn. We can back here. We have a pin there. You can't play here because you would lose material, so he's kind of stuck. So we could try there. There's a pin, so yeah, we're in kind of a sitch at that point, so we'd have to play our rook up to guard there. Oops, sorry, that was a mistake on my part. This is actually a really good move. So you'd have to play there first. Or potentially you could play, this would be an interesting puzzle rush move for sure because of there. So he'd have to move a rook. He'd have to move his rook, something like that. And then now, oh sorry, another bad rook move. So he's gonna have to probably play something like over here, or maybe there, somewhere on this where there's no forking potential. Then if he comes up, you takes. I actually prefer white here. I really like white. So, well, you have to always, yeah. Yeah. So D2. Oops, that was a boo-boo. Probably that would have been better. Alright. You know what, you always gotta be on the lookout for those. Then you could come over and I think grab this. Let's see, how can we, if he moves there, maybe we could have actually moved in here. If he'd played there, we have that. Huh. Yeah. I see what you're saying. If he takes here, you win there. Yeah. That makes sense. That makes sense. So you're actually not bad here. You're still good. You're still good. I'm wondering if you don't have perpetual here. I'm wondering if perpetual wasn't your best out in this line. Instead of going after, you know, trying to go for the KO, you might have wanted to try to go. I know you're still winning here. Oh, he actually. Oh, he resigned. You won. Oh wow. You won. Oh, okay. I thought you said you lost here. No, that's a really good move. Yeah, you did great then. I was wondering. I was like, this doesn't seem like a loss to me. This actually seems like you have an advantage. Because I was thinking somewhere you were losing. I'm like, but this you're up in exchange, so you shouldn't be losing. So you're and you won. Good job. That was a tough one. Okay, let's put in another one, and we'll go over it. He's like, yeah, black's totally busted at that point. I think, let me make sure I have all the moves. Yep, there it is. Okay, it's fine. Okay, so are you? Oh, yeah. Which one? Hey, you know what? You did great. Great job on the game. You know, it's a tough thing to show a game. So, oh, you're black. Okay. So I commend you on presenting your game. Oh, you did the French. Nice, nice, nice. Uh-oh. Yikes. Yeah, you got to be careful when you do this. There's this trick that white sets up with e5. E5 is not a fun move to meet, because then you'd lose a piece in that line. Sometimes players would, yeah. Ooh, good job. Yeah, this move probably would you probably should have taken at this point here, just this one, and I think you win material. I believe you win material at this point. He'll try bishop g2, knight c6. If he tries knight takes, takes. You could play queen takes, knight takes, and with proper attack, you can actually probably knight here. You can actually take there, bishop takes, and you have the two bishops. You got to now. You could actually, you can't, yeah, right there. So you got the two bishops. You probably would want to see if you couldn't bring it out, and then castle. If he castled, then you can castle. Potentially bishop here, takes, and you could play maybe rook b8 because you got to get out of the pin. So then you can play here and there, and then potentially a bishop fianchetto. So I think trading here, and then takes. Knight takes probably would be good, and if knight takes, pawn takes, bishop there, then f5. Probably f5 would be really strong here, and then if there, then takes, knight takes, castles, probably queen e, knight there, castle queen side, and then it's who can get to who faster. He'd probably try to gang up on the G pawn there. Yeah, the French is fun. I love doing the French defense. thinking that yes, trading here is interesting for sure there. Could we actually somehow get this involved? And then and then yeah, something similar to this here. And then you have one material. Let's see here. There. There's a there was a check here. I think you are potentially bishop takes here. Rook here. Potentially stopping castling at this point. Rook takes. Queen here. Kaboom. And now you're just dominating after that. Boom. And it's just crushing. When you castled and you were like this, you're in super. Even though you're down in exchange, you're still in the power seat here. You're in such a power seat, and you just have to always take action on that. You have to. You probably wouldn't be able to take with here. Sorry, you actually have to play here. Check and then after takes, if knight takes, then you can actually potentially try winning material. And if he comes there, then you have a idea of where he could come in. So I think let's see, here is an interesting move there, and it's really interesting. So this was actually a really good game. Pretty really nice French. I'm thinking attacking on. I think you have one last chance to save the position, and it would be this here. I know what you're thinking. Oh no, he could attack there. No. You're still down a rook, so it's kind of like that's a tough one when you're down two pieces, because he has this here, and I think even if he took here, took there, he could potentially play there, and then even if he played there, you can somewhat maybe get a piece back. Actually, that loses material, so he can't actually play. No, it actually doesn't lose material, because if he did that here, king takes. So yeah. I think you missed a potential fork here, but I think you can just move at that point. Good fight. You know what? You put up a good battle. So you know what? Good job. You know that? The French is a fun opening, and when you go over a lot, like there's you type in business law on icchess.org, then or lichess.org, and you type in business law. You can go to my studies, and I'm doing one on the French right now, so that you can go over if you're interested in playing the French. You can see some of the lines and learn some of the lines so that when you play, you'll know the ideas behind it. Remember, the French is somewhat of an attacking opening, but for a while, black has to play defensive. That's where it got the name French defense from. But if white's not, if they don't have their eyes open, white can end up on the back foot of the position, and it's a double-edged setup. If white can hold the center, they win. But if black can break up the center, then black wins. Oh, is there any way in the beginning you could have saved some of your minor pieces? Let's see here. Yeah, at this point, yes. If you would have taken on move 5, instead of playing knight c6, so on move 5, bishop takes f4 is actually would have been a on move 5 that would have stopped the fork that happened. So this right here would have stopped the fork. Yes, you lose your most powerful piece, but then potentially you can actually solidify. Actually, sorry, not c5, f5. That was a mouse slip. Takes here, and then potentially solidify. So that was probably the first spot that you could have saved your minor on. Let me see here. There's also one line. Oh, that wouldn't work. This bishop takes again. You would have gotten maybe a pawn back. You could have got a pawn. So I think the only. No, I'm trying to figure out. Let me see here. Okay, right here. Move 14 on move 14 for black. Bishop takes d6. On move 14, bishop takes d6 would have been a better idea. Yes, you're down a piece, but you're still holding. The rook takes lost you a piece. You took with the wrong piece on d6. You took with the rook instead of the bishop. Here. And I think those are the two. I think those are the only two areas that you needed to work on. You got to watch for forks in those. So, and then now we'll let's see how much time we have left. It's really quick. I want to see if we have enough time for an end game. I think we may. Yes, we got enough time for an end game. We'll pick up the game tomorrow with Frank Marshall, but we want to get an end game session in because it's vital that we get our end games learned. Here we go. So we'll pull up. So those were the two areas that you could have had a stitch could have saved on. So not to worry though. You know what? Keep improving, and you'll and working and participating with the team, and we'll get through this, and we'll all get better. Come on. No. It's doing it again. Why? Why, oh why? Is it stalling on me again? Ah, perfect. It didn't stall. Hip hip hooray. Happy day. I'm happy, happy, happy. This is Smyslov. Alright, oops. But you played a good game, so you know what? Just keep improving. You played a good game. Hey, you guys are doing great. Hey, you know what? It's tough to get that rating. It takes a lot of work. Hey, you know what? I can't take the credit. It's a gift the Lord's given me, and a lot of work that you also put in. So that's what, as it is written, you have to give credit where credit is due, tribute to whom tribute, honor to whom honor, and all good and perfect things come from above. So that's why I give honor to the Lord Jesus. Let's see, I gotta make sure I have all this right in there. Okay, perfect. Let's see, who's to move? White, perfect. So Smyslov is white here. Smyslov's white. White is better due to his more active king and his superior pawn structure. 2 pawn islands to black's 3. To increase his advantage, white must place his knight on g5, or g4. White must somehow get his knight to g4, and his bishop to c3. So knight to g4 and bishop to c3. Dominating the enemy knight. Any trades of white's bishop. Any trades of the white bishop for black's knight will increase the first player's chance to become the black bit. What? That doesn't make sense. Hold on, that doesn't make that sentence didn't make sense. Maybe I'm not reading it right. Hold on. Okay, to increase his advantage, white must place his knight on g4. Okay, we got that. His bishop on c3, got that. Dominating the enemy knight. That's right. Any trade of white's bishop for black's knight will increase the first player's chances because the black bishop has very little mobility, while the white knight can dance to almost any square on the board. Okay, got it. That sounded kind of odd how he wrote that in there. I think what he was trying to say is if we ever traded our knight for that, that'd be silly. But if we traded our yeah. And so once white gets his bishop to c3, yeah, then he would actually dominate this powerful open file. So that's kind of what chess, that's kind of what the idea is. If we can trade off our dark square bishop for this knight, we would have a better minor piece endgame, just because of the closing of the how close the center is, kind of cramped. Knights are really good in closed positions, and this bishop really doesn't have any scope to strive on. This in turn weakens the G. So if we get rid of this knight here for this bishop, it weakens the G6 and H7 squares. The knight can basically dance all over the board. When this is done, white will train his sights on G6, and if necessary, freeze G6 in its tracks by putting a pawn on G5 via here and here. So it's up to you, my chess team chess cruncher. You are Smyslov, you're white. White to move, exclaim. White to move, exclaim. What would white move here? You kind of have the idea that what white wants to do is place a bishop on C3 and a knight on G5. Boom. You got it. Nice job. That is spot on. Oops, I need to make that into a study. Drat. I knew I forgot something. I need to make that into a study. There we go. I gotta make it into Smyslov 2. Smyslov 2. There we go. That's an exclam. What happens with knight goes to d4? The bishop. So if he, so what you're saying is if he goes to d4. Well, I'm sure that probably bishop. If he went like this, that would actually help white's idea. And if he tried bishop there, he could actually somewhat bring, even if he wanted to, he can bring his bishop back to a1. I know that looks kind of weird. And then he can trade off the bishop at that point. See, the knight is kind of trapped when it went in this far and it tried to, cause a little chaos here. It's not good, and it's what actually go along with white's idea. If let's say like bishop here, white wants to trade off the knight for the bishop. White wants to trade the knight off, so that would actually help white. Surprisingly, by playing knight d4 helps white if black did that. The bishop played bishop to d6. So black wouldn't be able to play e5 right now, since the d square is covered by the king, and if even if he tried to do that, it wouldn't work. The king and knight, so he could. What he was saying is he could potentially try this move. But remember, what's our idea to potentially get our knight basically like the f2. Excuse me, f2 or potentially f5. He's saying that f5 would have actually been a better idea. This would have, because then now it makes his bishop really unappealing. His bishop can't really do anything now. It's choked off, as I like to say from the world. This bishop is. So bishop d6 was played. Knight f2. Knight d8. Black wasn't worried about knight d. If you're wondering, knight d4, because bishop c3 and would force it to immediately retreat, because this is the only good piece for black. His dark square bishop is of none effect, as I like to say. There's nothing that it can do. It's not a very these pawns stop it from coming in, and then its own pawns stop it from doing any attack. So it's like not a good piece. That's why knight d8 was played. He's trying to somehow potentially maybe trade off his knight for white's knight. And so now this is a white to move. It's not an exclam move. I want to see what you would say about this move here. It's not an exclam move. It's just a move, but I want to see what you, my team chess cruncher, would move here. You're Smyslov, you're white, no exclam. I just want to see what you would move. Remember white's plan. His plan is to try to get a knight here and a bishop here. So what move would white play? His plan is to get a bishop to c3 and a knight to g4. What move would white play here? You're Smyslov. Yep, that is correct. Bishop C, you got it. This was actually the move that Smyslov played. Good job. Knight f7, and then the knight came in. Yep. So now Smyslov has, remember, Smyslov's all based on simplicity. That's his motto. The simpler, the better. And what's more simple than dominating a long open file and having the knight basically dominate the king side? Your king's optimally placed and keeping everything under wraps. Your opponent's going to get frustrated, and they're going to not know what to do, and then they're going to try to somewhat lash out. And lashing out is really foolish in this line, because it only helps. If they were to lash out h5, the knight would love to be implemented in on e5. Yes, the bishop could take, so you'd have to be careful. Bishop takes, knight takes, king takes, and now your king is centralized, and you have a lot more sway in the middle. You're better. Here, f6, we're trying to head into f6 is also an idea. So keeping f6 with for these two pieces is a idea as well, to potentially go after h7. So oh, he did lash out oh wow, he did actually play that. That was totally dubious. Oh man, that's not a good move. That's a null move. There was no reason to push the pawn until it actually was attacked. Now white's advantage takes on a very serious pro-positional setup. So now white can actually set up. He's more prone to positional now. White's just Smyslov probably smiled from ear to ear. Really, you're provoking me to simplicity? I love simplicity. This isn't a really wise idea by his opponent. Not so at all. Bishop f6 was spot on. Exclaim. Kaboom. You have to love that. That's like, hello, I'm here and I'm ready now. After you move the king, I'm going to slip my knight right on in here, or potentially bring it back. Maybe, let me see, here, here. Let's see what he actually does. It's a beautiful move. Smyslov plays very accurately. The bishop leaps to f6. Black stops black from trying any g6, g5 ideas. So king d7, knight f2. So we don't really want to trade off. He would love to trade his horrible bishop off for our knight. So coming into e5 would be not such a good idea, because then we'd be trading off our best piece for his worst piece. So sometimes what we have to learn in endgames from Smyslov is a retreat isn't a retreat. Moving back isn't a retreat. I guess that's what I'm trying to say. Moving back isn't a retreat. Sometimes moving back is a plan, because you're going to reposition to a even better square, and you're also leaving your opponent with a headache. What is your opponent going to do in a position that is basically horrible for them? Really nothing. And potentially you could even play knight d3, bishop e5. If knight takes, then you can actually play pawn takes and then jump your knight in and take two scopes on these pawns there, the e6 and g6 pawns. Okay, so bishop f2, bishop c7. Too passive. He could have tried bishop e7 here. Then bishop c2, 3 would have been played. g5, f takes g, takes check. Though black would retain a considerable advantage with king to f4. It's slightly better for white here. Not when black played this passive bishop c7. This really catapulted Smyslov to probably joy and happiness. Knight d3, king c6. Oops, sorry, I had to do king c6. There we go. I said it but didn't move it. That's funny. And then knight d1. It would have been bad, like what we talked about, if we'd played knight e5. This is actually a double question mark move. Bishop takes. Since it would be possible to now go after g5. White's knight, black's knight is able to potentially now go after h2, because you can take, and potentially now g4 and h2 would be a target. So that's why it's a mistake. That's why e1 was actually the move that was preferred by Smyslov. Knight d6, a check was actually played, and then king d3. The bold king e5 move would be answered by, so if king e5, it would be answered by king d7. And if knight not knight takes d4. Knight takes d4 is a losing move because of king takes d6. And then now, where does the king go? The knight go to? I guess he has to go back. But now we can actually retreat our bishop and get our king over and start munching like Pac-Man on g6 and h5. Excuse me. Okay, so d3 was played, king d3, knight f5. Now he's got an outpost. Knight f3 and knight d7. Oh yeah, king f7 would work too. Oops, I'm not knight d7. That's a bad move. It was actually king d7. I did knight e7 by accident. Black decided against playing b5 here because of pawn takes check, king takes, and then knight g5. That undermines the pawn there. Excuse me, hold on. Need to get a drink of water. Sorry about drinking in the mic, but my throat felt dry there for a second. It's much better. Okay, so knight, king to d7, and then king e4 to attack the knight, and now he's dominating these two squares. So where does this knight go? If the knight goes back, then the bishop potentially can come in. Oh, I gotcha. E4 threatens knight e5 check. Bishop takes e5, king takes e5, and followed by the king and bishop when the king's potential infiltrates into the enemy camp. Okay, good. There we go. So that's with that idea. So knight d6 check, king e3. The white king is heading to f2, where it can actually defend g3 and prepare h3 and then g4. Typical ideas of trying to get the position going. Knight f5 check, king f2, bishop d6, and now h3 exclam. This gets everything rolling. Bishop c7, g4, pawn takes, of course, pawn takes, and knight to h6. King g3, and then knight to f7. Hard to stand up to white's slow grind. I call it the slow grind here. White wins easy after king e8 because bishop e5. He doesn't want to trade off for this bishop, so he plays back. And then bishop b, a6, knight e5, and now we're taking scope there. g5, knight c6, Bishop f6 to hold on. Bishop e5. Bishop takes e5. Knight takes e5. G takes check, and then king takes f. Leaves white with an outside pass pawn in a knight endgame, where this knight can defend this pawn while the king slowly tippy-toes into the position. It could defend the pawn while the king tippy-toes in, and then tries to get some attack going. G5 was played here. This allows for the king to potentially go to G4. That's instead of infiltrate, I call it tippy-toeing in, because that's usually what a kind of a spy does. They're always the ones in the shadows, and so they don't trigger any alarms. They walk on their tippy toes to make no sound, and the king's just gonna walk on potentially the light squares, and then try to come in on the light squares if he could without even being touched. But that's back a little further. So G5, okay. He says a highly threat that potentially can happen is knight going to H2, and so bishop D8 is played here. King G4, bishop takes, and G takes, and then King D6. And now, what is the final move that makes white resign here? I'm giving it to you. There's one more move. Can you stay on for one last move? One last move. White to move. This is the last move that wins it. White to move, exclaim, and last move. It's up to you, Team Chess Cruncher. What is the move for Smyslov that wins? You gotta just put in an idea, and I'll see if it's right, because if you have to go, just put in an idea that you're thinking, so before you have to go, because I know if you have to go, you have to go. So just put in the idea that you're thinking, and then I'll give it a yay or a nay. White to move, exclaim. Give you 15 seconds to put it in, and then I'll show it to you. Okay, I'll show it to you. Knight E5. Exclaim. You gotta love that. Because if Knight D, what we're gonna do is potentially play King G5. So this was the last move, so I'm gonna put a only move. And if you're thinking about taking this here, if king takes, he's behind the pawn and he can't stop it. And after takes, if he moves, then the king comes in, and then there's no way to stop. If he comes here, 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 there, and then he's one move too shy, and it's over. Okay, we'll call it on that. That was a good one. Do you have any questions? Do you have any questions? You got any questions? I'll take that as a no. Okay, so do you know what? If you're wondering the peace that I have, it's in the Lord. So just want to tell you that. So He provides peace, joy, and happiness and love. And the whole thing about chess is, if you have the Lord in your life, He'll bring the peace and calmness in your chess game and throughout your life as well. Yeah, it's only by receiving Him that you'll find actually really a lot of peace. Trust me. That's just me. I just wanted to answer that one question. We were right in the middle of a chess position, and I didn't want to break up the thought, but I wanted to answer Paul's question. Okay, but back to what we were saying as well, that Bruce Lee said, knowing is not enough, you must apply. Willing is not enough, you must do. And and I wanted to say it first foremost as well, I appreciate that you brought all your games. Thank you, 360. Thank you, Chess-is. And thank you, I think it's that Exodus Chess or something. I don't know if I'm pronouncing your name right. I apologize if I'm not. But I want to thank you all three of you for participating and bringing your games. Those were all three really good games. But we have to be willing to do something about it and do it, and that's what we're doing. We have to also remember what Bruce Lee said, that he didn't fear the person who practiced 10,000 individual kicks. He feared the person who practiced one kick 10,000 times. And we have to remember, like what we always say, you got to treasure your victories and learn from your losses, and remember that mistakes do not define you. It's how you handle the mistake that defines you. Like what Yasser Serin once said was that every long journey begins with one small step. Our small step is every day improving and getting better, and you're doing great. Always keep striving. You're more than welcome to bring your games to Chess Cruncher TV. We'll go over them, learn from them, and keep improving. It's I always remember this. It's not if you're gonna fall. It's just when. And what do you do when you fall? Like the Chess Crunchers, you knuckle down and get right back up and keep on the straight and narrow path, as the Lord would say. And always remember, when you sit down to play either online or over the board, remember to bring your Grandmaster glasses with you. And what you think about is very vital. So if you come into a chess game positive that you can do it, and you'll play much better than if you come in afraid. And I think oh, there's one more I wanted to add, which was Bruce Lee said that the mind that the Lord has given us sometimes reaches a plateau or a wall, and it's when you want to throw that grappling hook over and hook on and climb up that wall and get over it. That's when you make big progress. But you have to you're going to throw that grappling hook over the wall, and a couple times it might not hook, and so you can climb up the wall. But just keep doing it, and eventually it'll hook in, and then you'll be able to pull yourself up. And maybe for a while you might be tired, and it'll be like, oh, I don't know if I can get all the way up, and you might slide back down, and you might have to rest a little bit. But never stop. Keep pushing forward and keep practicing until you can climb over that wall. And when you do, green pastures are in front of you, and a whole new kingdom of learning will be open to you. But the whole thing is like a chest cruncher. What do? We hang up our coats, we hang up our hats, and we sit down and study when most won't. A chest cruncher does. And that always makes the difference when you study. And as Wesley So says, for the Lord Jesus, and as I say, God bless. And I'll see you next time on Chest Cruncher TV. Have a blessed morning, afternoon, evening, and Lord willing, I'll be back on tomorrow. And we'll keep pushing forward and having fun in chess and honoring the Lord with the talents that we have. And remember, like what we say at the end, Hannibal Smith said he loved it when a plan came together, but a good plan is one that you know where your opponent's going, you already have a plan based on it, and you haven't forgotten your plan. That's a good plan. Go Team Chess Cruncher, hoorah, be blessed, and I'll see you tomorrow. Have fun playing chess. 2 thumbs up. Great games, and if you have more games you want to bring them, and we'll go over them and enjoy and have fun doing it. Okay, be blessed, and I'll see you tomorrow.